Well, this is another great episode of the Slide Experience podcast, and I am your host, LaTasha Sly. And today I'm gonna do a little something different, and I wanted to um, have a get to know me and transparent conversation. Excuse me. And I know, and I realize that we're told to tell a story. We're told to have to tell our testimony. We're told to make sure that the things that we go through in life and the things that we've overcome are are heard so that we can actually help the next person. And you may not have experienced it yet. You may have experienced it already, but sometimes you have to realize that we go through things at the times and the seasons that we go through them based off of someone else that will need it in the future. And if you never tell the story, if you never decide to be honest with yourself and face either the fear or the trauma or the heartache and the pain or the loss and all of the things, do you ever really heal from it, or do you just, suppress it? You sweep it under the rug and you just move on. And for me, it wasn't the fact that I never talked about certain things in my life. I think and I've always I gave it to God, and I know that He's always had me, and He's taken care of me even through all the trials and tribulations that I endured at such a young age. And a lot of things that even then I never questioned it then, and I don't question it now, but I do have a little bit more clarity on some of the why. And because again, like they say, our mess becomes our message, and we have to make sure that we can understand that our purpose is still tied to our past. Unfortunately, our purpose is tied to our past. And for me, it's like it started at such a, it actually, more things actually started prior to uh, losing my mom, and understanding that at that time, even though I lost her at 12, I gained the information. I had to have been um, at least 10, maybe 9. And even before then, my mom, let's just make it very clear, she did the very best that she could with the things that what she had, and the information and the knowledge that she had. And I couldn't even fathom when I actually became a mom, and thinking when I was 29, I didn't have children at 29, but just when I became 29 years of age, and sitting back and reflecting, like, what she was thinking and how she was trying to survive and take care of the two kids and all of that. And that was probably like the hardest job that she endured, right? Is literally raising two kids, and she was still being as young as she was. So we have to start realizing, understanding what people are. When you become an adult, you may understand it a little bit more, and you can reflect on it some things, because you now are lifing. You're now going through the things. And so when she actually came and she shared the information about the loss, or not the loss, but the information about her diagnosis with, the breast cancer, um, it was one of those things to where you're like, you really don't understand it, because I was a kid. I was, so she tried to explain it the very best that she knew how. And I just remember the day that she came home, and my brother and I, and that day, she raised her arm, left arm to be exact, and she was like, hey, she, had me feel the lump. She had the lump in her breast, and said that she was going to go through a surgery. They had found this lump in her breast, and it was cancerous. And so she began to explain it, but in the same time, you can tell in her face that, like any human being would be, she was afraid, she was nervous, she was scared, she was not understanding, like, why is this happening to her. You can see it. And because her posture was different, the whole aura of her being in that moment was different. And I saw that even as a child. And so I remember her taking my brother and I to the bedroom, and we got on our knees and we prayed. And I mean, the tears were there, and the fact that I knew that she was going to fight and do everything that she could, but the main thing that she wanted us to make sure that we can always do and remember to do was to pray. And through all the trials and all of the things and the heartaches and pain that we would go through, I remember that in life, and when adversity shows up, when trauma shows up, you get on your knees and you pray. And so, needless to say, I lost her. Was in sixth grade, 12 years old, and she fought. And for the longest time, it was like, I've had this conversation before. I wasn't mad at God. I was more so, honestly, I was mad at her because I felt like she didn't fight enough to be here for me. I, I felt like I would be going through life without her. And I made it about me. And I had to sit back one day and I had to say, I get it. She fought. She tried as much as she could to be here, but evidently God had already showed her your kids are going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay because she gave us back to Him. And so now, mind you, I didn't think all of this then. I was still going through, I'm going to go through life without my mom. And she wasn't going to be there through all of those stays, those stable points in my life, the prom and my 13th birthday. She had passed just right before my 13th birthday, the 16th birthday, the graduations, the weddings, the children, the home, and all of the things that she would be absent from. But God had to remind me she'll be present. And so, but that's where I was as a child, right? And so I had that conversation with someone. Well, why weren't you mad at God? And I remember I may have asked the question why, like why God, why would this have to be me? I don't remember, to be honest, but I think that I was mad at her and not at God because I knew His positioning was that He needed her more. I realized that He needed her more, but I felt like she needed to fight. Like, you already know what my life would be like, or this is hard. I didn't want to have to go through life without my parent. And so I was mad at her, and it took some time. And you realize when you're going through your walk with faith, and your walk with Christ rather, and you start to actually think, and you play the things back in your head. And so she was just in so much pain, and I had to realize that my selfishness um, had got the best of me as a kid. And so I had to ask for grace and mercy for that, because I'm like, I'm not a selfish person, never have I ever been. Even though my mom was like, oh, maybe sometimes. um, but I had to come to the reality that has she been able to change anything? Has she been able to get well? Has she been able to get up and walk on her own without being tied to a bed for months in and months out? The surgeries, the chemo, the radiation that she had to endure. Um, I had to really sit back and think, like, well, I do apologize, because I know that she did everything that she possibly could to try to be here for her kids. And I shared this part of this journey because if you are a young adult, or if you are a child and you're going through and you're watching your parent suffer, and you're trying to figure out what tomorrow will look like for you, just think about trying to do your very best with what you have and what God has given you and placed in your hands to do, and just make them proud. Because at the end of the day, it's not them leaving you. It's you actually growing in that space of heartache, pain, trauma, and loss, so that you can actually be a testimony and a testament to somebody else, like I'm being for you right now. And it hurts. Cannot deny that. The pain is real, the heartache was real, the tears were real. And it took a long time for me to uh, not to want to hear her voice and her beautiful smile, and just one day wanting to open the door, and she would still be there. And I had to come to realization that it wasn't that case. That was not the case. And so I share this because if you're going through it right now and you're watching someone that is going through a hard time and you know that you may lose them, tell them that you love them. Share those moments with them, and just be present. And just know that as long as you stay true to who you are and don't do things crazy trying to numb the pain, um, God will make sure that everything that you need and want, and possibly all of the things that you can't even fathom, will be on the other side of this thing. But you have to still be strong in your faith. You have to be strong in your walk with God. And regardless, and sometimes you feel like, oh, I am a Christian and I do pray, but why can't God just make this right? Well, I don't have the answer to that part, but I do know that sometimes it's not about the person that is sick. It could be about you. Because if I would still have had my mom in certain situations, I feel like maybe the things that I had to endure, the things that I had to go through, I probably would have ended up leaning on her more, going to her more, trying to allow her to give me the answer versus going to God, versus looking up and saying, God, I don't know what to do with this, or trusting that He's going to get me out of situations and circumstances that I got myself in, and I know I shouldn't have did what I did or been where I was. And so you have to see it sometimes on the other side of the coin. Is it about the person that is dying, or is it about the person that is living? And it's hard to accept, and it's hard to get there. It takes some time to get to the space that I'm in right now. And I wanted to share it because I want you to know, if you're watching somebody on their deathbed and they're in hospice and you just don't know, and your heart is aching because you just don't want to see them in that way, and I get it. And all you're trying to figure out is like, how am I going to move forward? You pray about it. You trust and believe that everything they have given you and poured into you, and all of the good that they have given you while they were here on this earth, that you will still have, you will still possess, and you'll be able to give that to your children. Be able to give that back to your siblings. You'll be able to give those things back to someone that really needs it later on in life. Those are the things that matter, right? And I'm not discrediting the pain and the heartache at all, because I have been there and it is hard. And I'm not saying that you should overlook it. What I'm saying is you should make sure that you don't try to numb or suppress the pain with other things that could possibly hurt you, because your loved one don't want you in that pain. They don't want you to suffer in that way. Um, and you should actually be thankful and grateful that you still have life, right? And then I have some that I say, well, it's not fair that I'm still here and they're not. I get that too. But there's someone or something that you still are here to do. There's something or someone that you're supposed to touch, or something or someone that is still here that needs your message. Your assignment is not done. Your purpose has not been fulfilled. And when you see and understand and believe that you're greater than what you see and what you feel, then you start to understand how to move in life, how to encourage, how to empower, how to uplift, how to be present, how to position yourself, even as a leader, as a human being, a child of God, of Christ, all of those things, right? And so I hope that I'm helping. I really, really do. And I had to learn to stand on my own 2 feet at a very young age. I didn't ask for a lot of help. I figured out a lot of things a long way around because I had a lot of trust issues. People that said they were going to be there for me were not, um, and so I just figured, okay, well, it's just me, and I won't figure it out. And I didn't have to ask, or I didn't choose to ask anyone for help in certain situations that I was going through. A lot of things I faced and went through on my own. I didn't want to have to talk about it, but God, He took care of it, right? Um, so it was a hard walk. I didn't run. um, I made goals, and on my mom's deathbed, I do remember I had a teacher, just to tell the story, I had a teacher, a reading teacher in my middle school, and she would make you make these promises, and you had to sign a letter. And she was like, I need you guys to write down and promise me that, because I guess high school pregnancy was a huge thing. People were going to high school and getting pregnant. And so she wanted to instill in us, don't be the statistic. And so she made us promise a promissory note that you would go to high school, graduate with no babies, right? And if you did that, you would come back to her and she would give you $100. And I was just like, why would you want to do that? Like in my head, it's like should want to graduate without being a mom. Should want to be able to go through high school without being a parent. It's something that you would want to do for yourself. And then it made me realize something. So went home, and now mind you, my mom was um, at home in a hospital bed, so she was actually going through her transition state um, at home. And so I went home and you know, made a promise to my mom, and I was just like, she couldn't speak because at this point it was like it spread all over. So there's a whole backstory to the whole cancer thing, and if I could share that one day, maybe. Um, but it had gotten to this point to where she had multiple surgeries and she was in so much pain. She had taken out this thing that they had put in there. She was constantly getting medication. It got infected. So cancer had spread all over. Uh, and then she no longer could speak. So I remember going, and I was standing next to her bedside, and I was like, you know what, Mom, I promised that I was going to go, and I'm going to be the best person that I can be. And I wanted to make her proud, and I was going to go to high school and go to college. And then I made the promise to myself that I would actually continue and get a master's degree, right? And I wanted to do well for myself in the educational space. I want to make sure that I showed up the right way as someone that took education seriously, because let's be honest, the environment that I was in didn't say much about that. The counselors in our school never met with us. They have these type of conversations, and it just wasn't that. And so I said, and I shared that to say is that of course I graduated. I didn't have any children, but I did go back to her to let the teacher know I don't want your $100, but I did want to share that it was something that I wanted for myself, not just for $100 bill. And I share this to say to you is that do something for you, not just because of what somebody is going to give you or gift you. You should want to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and give a testimony of how strong you are. And you endured the pain, even though it was hard. You stood on what was right, and you did what was right without giving in to the sin, the drugs, the alcohol, whatever the thing is, and just be okay with that. And because that's what they want. That's what your parent is wanting for your life. They want you to do well. They see well for you. Um, and so those are the words I want to give you. Like, it shouldn't be about what somebody else is going to give you or what somebody else is going to say, blah, 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 blah. But how how do you see yourself? How do you want to see yourself later on in life after everything is said and done? Now, in it, it's hard. You never forget. And as each moment goes by, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, it becomes a little bit easier to pick yourself up and cry less on the anniversary, or on their birthday, cry a little bit less, right? So I used to actually cry every single birthday, her birthday. I got married the day after her birthday because there was a situation with the date. So I got married the day of that. So now I celebrate my wedding anniversary so I won't have to cry so much about it. And I don't celebrate Halloween because my mother actually passed away on the day before Halloween. However, um, I do remember her for because of that. But the thing about this is that I found myself crying a little bit less day by day, year by year, and celebrated a lot of the things that God had blessed me with while I was still here. I have two beautiful boys. I have a great marriage. My husband see me and love me for who I am. He doesn't care about me, my brown skin, thick thighs and lips, all of the things, right? He literally loves me for me. And I realize that I have to be the best version for myself so I can show up for them. And that's why I'm sharing this message to you. Um, because life isn't easy. And even in the little bit that I'm sharing today, someone needs to hear and be encouraged to know that even though you're going through the pain right now and you don't understand why you're going through it and why this is happening to you, just know that one day you too will be able to share the story, stand on your own 2 feet, and encourage someone else to make them realize that they are worthy and that through all of the trials and tribulations, God is able. And he will get you through that just like he's going to get you through all the other things that are going to come your way. But show up for yourself so that you can be there for someone else. Be the leader of yourself so that you can lead someone else. Speak truth and life into yourself so that you can speak truth and life to someone else. It is imperative, it's important as a human race that we start understanding that it's bigger than us. It's not about, riches and millions and all those things that the monetary gain is about making sure that my story helps you and someone that needs it receives it, and that I've done a good work. For the longest time, I didn't. It was just something I went through, no big deal. Um, as far as like wanting to share the story, like, okay, but if someone was going through what they were going through and I was in the proximity of them, then yeah, I would share the story with them to let them know that everything is going to be okay. But this is the one thing that it may be off topic or whatever, but if you've never lost a loved one and you have both of your parents and you tell someone that you understand what they're going through and you trying to be there for them, I'm going to let you know that's not the position that you want to be in. Because if you have both of your parents and you can possibly understand what I'm going through, if you haven't lost your mom, you have not felt the pain that I feel or felt. So therefore, if you want to be there for your friend, your loved one, um, significant other in that way, just be present. That's how you help them. Be present, because there is no way that someone could possibly understand losing a family member like a parent and you have not gone through that. There's no way. There's no way. I'm gonna tell you now that you're gonna make somebody feel a certain type of way. So I digress, but I just had to say that because people want to be there for you and they be like, oh yeah, they understood, and now I'm so sorry for your loss, and what can I do? You honestly, you can't. There's nothing you can do but be present. And like I said before, there were so many people that weren't present for me, and so I wasn't bitter about it, but I realized a long time ago that I had to do a lot of things on my own. And that meant that had my mom had been there, she probably would have been my crutch. And so I grew up fast, I grew up soon, and I wanted to make sure that I took care of what I needed to take care of. So I went to school. I did well. Okay, in some instances, depends on the circumstances. But I finished. But There's joy on the other side of this thing if you allow yourself to heal. Will it happen overnight? No. Will it happen next week? No. Will it happen maybe a few months or even maybe a year? Everyone's journey in it is different. It is very different. And I'm not saying that I got over it right away. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm telling you the story to make sure that you understand that tomorrow will come and you will be okay. That is what this is about. Not the fact that you have to numb or suppress and you don't have to feel the pain. But the story is to say that through the adversity and the loss and the pain that you suffer, everything will be okay. Find a group, find someone that, a counselor, coach, or mentor, go to speak to a therapist. And gain the clarity that you want. Speak through it, and it'll be okay. Most importantly, go to the Word of God and trust and believe that He will guide your path and direct you in the direction that you need, and give you the perfect peace that you're needing inside and out. And because that's what I did. To be honest with you, I didn't sit on the couch. I didn't have a lot of conversations with friends or family. I literally spoke to God when I needed a moment. And I sometimes I would lay in my bed, on my floor, in the shower, and I would cry. But when you're going through something like that, He is the creator. He is the Father, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And He is the one that said, you know what? You're going to make it. And I give you those same words of encouragement. You will make it. And I pray that whomever is listening to this, whomever is watching this, maybe on YouTube, if I decide to post it on YouTube, um, is seeing this, I want to encourage you to keep going forward, step by step, day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, year by year. And trust me, it does get better. It really, really does. And because at this stage in my life, I just want to make my mom proud. I want to make my boys proud. But at the end of it, my husband proud. And that when I do see my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, He can say, well done, child. Well done, my daughter. And that is what I want in my life. And so I hope this helps. I didn't want to go on a rant or anything like that, but something in my spirit said, go ahead and tell it. Tell your story. And even though it's not the whole of it, like, okay, but I want you to know it's going to be okay. And as you constantly stay in my space and support my podcast and my podcast journey, that is what I'm doing this for, because I went to school for radio, television, broadcasting as a minor, but it didn't happen that way. So I made my own lane, and that's a whole nother podcast or a whole nother day. But I want my listeners and my viewers to know that I'm human and we all go through things, and even though that was many years ago, and I'm still standing, I'm still strong, and I want that for you as well. So continue to stay tuned, tune in, listen, subscribe, share this podcast with someone that you feel like may need it. Um, I may not have said it perfectly, but I want to make sure that the end result, the end message is it's going to be okay. And it may not be about the person that is going through the transition of death. It may just be about you. So be mindful of what you do after the death. Be mindful of what you do after they transition on, because you have so much more to give. What are you going to do with the life that you have? Who are you going to change? Who are you going to encourage? Because someone else is going to need you just like you needed me right now. I want you to be blessed. This has been another episode of the Slight Ed Experience podcast. I am your sister in faith and your sister in prosperity, wealth, and clarity. And we are successors leading you through education and determination. I am out. Take care.